Want to start your own podcast? Whether it's a business, personal, internal, or hobby podcast, Sleepy Time Studios can help you with everything you need to get your podcast recorded, edited, hosted, and shared with the world. Get started on the podcast of your dreams at sleepytimestudios.com/podcast.
Welcome to Gilbert Talks podcast, where we engage in constructive community dialogue. Our mission is to enrich understanding and motivate engagement by bringing together local, national, and international experts with Gilbert residents. In each episode, we explore topics such as growth, education, healthcare, technology, and economic development, all through the lens of civil discourse. Join us as we listen to diverse viewpoints and build a stronger community together. Welcome. This is incredible. This is the first time you guys have been together in a decade? About a while. Awesome. Welcome. The band's all together.
The band's back together.
The band's back together.
Jan is vice chair this year for Gilbert Talks. My name is Emily Evans. I am the incoming chair for 25. So this is the brainchild of Jan and I getting together and saying, okay, what's next? And to find out what is next, we have to figure out where we came from. And that's why you're all here today. So we appreciate you.
Very good. Thank you.
We'll start with Tim Bricker, founder emeritus of Gilbert Talks. Tim serves as the president of Common Spirits Central Region, overseeing the health system's expansive operations across Arizona, Nevada, Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, and North Dakota. With a 30-year career in healthcare leadership, he has made a significant impact as a senior executive for both large and small hospitals, and as a regional chief executive managing multi-hospital system in major urban areas throughout the Western United States. Say that one 5 times fast. Goodness. How do you have time for all this?
Imagine his business card.
Right? His tenure includes 6 impactful years as president and CEO of Chandler Regional and Mercy Gilbert Medical Centers in Arizona, where he drove transformative growth initiatives, led the development of new hospitals, forged strategic partnerships, and championed operational excellence. Tim's expertise also extends to consulting for 2 prestigious national firms, where he provided hospitals, health systems, and physician groups across the U.S. with high-level strategic planning and operational improvement. Tim holds a bachelor's degree in public and international affairs from Princeton University and a master's degree in health services administration from the University of Michigan. Tim and his wife, Carol, have been married for more than 30 years and are proud parents of adult twin daughters.
Next, we've got Alan Fitzgerald. Alan is the founder emeritus and owner of Art Intersection here in Gilbert. Alan moved to Phoenix, Arizona in 1973 from Monterey, California to begin his university studies in electrical engineering and graduated in 1977 from Arizona State University with a Master's of Science degree in engineering. His engineering career started at Motorola, and then he consulted with technology firms in Arizona until 1985, when he founded Adtron Corporation. For 23 years, Adtron specialized in the development and production of solid-state disk technology, and in 2001, Adtron was the 3rd fastest-growing Arizona-based private technology company. The company sold in 2008 to NASDAQ-listed technology firm Smart Modular Technologies. From the acquisition, until 2010, he served as Vice President and Chief Technical Officer at Smart Modular Technologies, and after retiring in 2011, he opened Art Intersection with galleries, photography, arts lab, and workspace that serves as a resource center for both emerging and established artists. In 2011, the Fitzgerald family collaborated with Banner Health to establish the Banner Neuro Wellness in Gilbert, serving people suffering from neurological movement disorders, principally Parkinson's disease.
Next up, Jim Hayden, founder emeritus and CEO of Board Developer. Jim, a 5th-generation Arizona native, carries a deep-rooted connection to Tempe and Arizona State University, both of which his family helped establish. When he moved to Gilbert in 1999, he sought more than a home. He wanted a community. A chance meeting with a humble man in a hat, quietly handing out saplings, sparked a lifetime commitment to civic engagement. That relationship inspired Jim to establish Gilbert Talks, modeled after TED Talks, fostering thought-provoking conversations that continue to unite and inspire the community decades later. Beyond community building, Jim has dedicated his career to leadership development. As the founder of Board Developer, he has helped organizations across corporate, nonprofit, and advisory sectors cultivate high-performing boards. His philosophy, The Power of Touch, emphasizes authentic connections over titles, believing true impact comes from the lives we uplift. A nationally recognized speaker and author on relationships, Jim's 30-year healthcare career includes emergency response leadership, global disaster relief, and medical missions. He has served on numerous influential boards, including Dignity Health, Boys and Girls Clubs, and Catholic Charities, driving funding, expanding programs, and transforming communities. His contributions have earned him multiple Board Member of the Year awards and recognition as a Business Journal 40 Under 40 honoree. At heart, Jim is an adventurer, drawn to open roads and the outdoors. Yet his roots remain firmly planted in Arizona, where he continues to honor his family's legacy, not just by leading, but by mentoring and planting the seeds of change for future generations.
So, welcome.
Thank you.
Next, we have Howard Morrison. And Howard is of the Morrison Ranch community here in Gilbert. Howard works with his extended family in the development of Morrison Ranch, their family-owned farm, which is nearing completion of its transition to a 2,000-acre master plan community. Howard's past volunteer leadership positions include serving on boards of Gilbert Leadership, East Valley Leadership, Dignity Health Foundation East, Center for Arizona Policy, and Gilbert Talks. Howard has been married to Jana for over 40 years. They have 3 adult children. Howard, a native of Gilbert, is a graduate of Gilbert High School, the University of Arizona, Dallas Theological Seminary, and Phoenix Seminary. Howard loves to read, teach, and travel.
Lastly, Tad Pein, founder emeritus of Gilbert Talks and owner of Joe's Real Barbecue and Joe's Farm Grill. Tad grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona, and started his restaurant career in the 1970s at Dale Anderson's legendary Other Place restaurant. After spending many years there, Tad moved to Dallas, Texas, and enjoyed a rewarding career with American Airlines. Before retiring, he managed various departments, was involved in human resources, collective bargaining, information technology, and of course, food service. He moved back to Arizona in 1997 to partner in Joe's Real Barbecue. He teamed with his partners to open Joe's Farm Grill in Gilbert, Arizona in 2006. Committed to community service and the arts, Tad has served on the Town of Gilbert's Economic Development Advisory Board, as board president of Gilbert Cares, and on the board of the Phoenix Boys Choir. He is a graduate of the Gilbert Leadership Program, Class 8, a founding board member of Gilbert Talks, former vice president of the Agritopia Homeowners Association, advisory board member of the East Valley Institute of Technology Culinary Arts Program, and an advisory board member of Search Ministries Phoenix.
Welcome. Yeah, this is awesome. We have quite the group of individuals here, and I can say that I am officially fangirling right now. So. Is that a thing?
It is now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Could be the name of the podcast.
All right, fangirling. That would be awesome. So really, we want to get into this and have a conversation, and thank you for all being here today. And as Emily stated, we feel like in order to move Gilbert Talks into the future, we want to kind of understand the past. We felt the best way to do that was to bring you all together and have conversation, maybe hear some fun stories if you care to share any of those stories that could be aired to the public, and anything we want to talk about. Obviously, we've got questions kind of canned, but we'll see where the conversation goes and where the road leads us, and we'll go through that. So again, appreciate you all being here. Feel free to chime in and talk over each other if you would like, or not.
Yeah.
Be patient. But
Tad does.
Yeah, let's
Do not.
As chair, I reserve the right to kick somebody in the shins if needed. Okay.
We're
Jim.
used to that. Yeah.
So let's kind of start. How did you all meet? What's the origin story of your
Well,
friendship?
let me start with that,
Yeah.
because I remember sitting down with Howard, and I don't know what the event was that had the two of us talking. It was a time of some divisiveness in the town between the town council, the school board, and the conversations got very emotional in these meetings. It was loggerheads. I mean, there was headbutting going on. And since Howard has been here his whole life, and I've gotten to know him through photographs from your father, and having spent some time talking to your mom also, I said, what's going on? Why is this happening now? And so the conversation ended up with, let's talk about it. And then that expanded, and Howard created some invitations. And I can't remember if it was to Tad first or to Jim first. Jim first.
Is that right?
Yeah. And so then we got together and we talked about how we can disagree and still move forward. And quite frankly, in this group, as you look around, you can find the agreeable and disagreeable personalities pretty quickly. So we weren't a
Thank you
group.
for highlighting.
We weren't a group that always agreed on things, but the core of where we started was when disagreements got out of hand in the community where we lived.
And I think there's an analog when you have a problem in a relationship, and that could be with a friend, and that could be with your spouse, it doesn't really matter. How do you resolve that? Bring up the issues and you talk about it. And so the same is true in.
So can we ask questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
You two had that initial conversation
Yeah.
based on some dynamics that were going on in the town. You thought to bring Jim into the discussion. And when you said, let's talk about it, you guys weren't doing anything formal. You were just sitting around having coffee and talking about how we work our way through these issues.
How
That's
does
right?
it settle down in a conversation? And part of it was Howard needed to pull me off the wall because I was disappointed.
Oh, the water tower.
Off the water. Come on down.
You were often the most energized. So where I was going with that question, actually doing something formal arise with you guys. I don't think I know.
It was a long time coming. Looking back at it, and we kind of compare notes about what date did we get together and all that kind of stuff. I think the five of us didn't get together until late 2011.
Or 2012.
2012.
2012, I believe.
Yeah, when you got your job.
Well, I started here in 11, so it was not too after that I can.
Yeah, we probably had informal conversations for a year at least
Did you?
before we actually had momentum. And then we had lots of differences of opinion on if we were to do something, what might that look like? We had grandiose visions. We had more local-based decisions. And even when we started, I don't know that we had much of a strategy for what it would look like the first couple of years. It was sort of let's just do something. Let's get started. And from our three conversations, I think it became pretty clear we really did want some other more founding members. And so it was an easy decision. Tim, you got very involved with this community as soon as you hit the ground here, maybe even before. And Tad's been in the fabric for a long time as well. So it was really easy for us. But it wasn't because we were all alike. It's already been mentioned. I mean, very, very different of opinions and backgrounds and so forth. And so it was we had to practice civility with one another. And it helped that I guess none of us really take ourselves all that seriously. Jim probably has the biggest problem with that than the rest of us. But it allowed us to explore. We explored with one another. What if we did this? What if we had this national speaker? We had, for a while, we had just really been,
Guinness, it was
Oh my gosh.
all over the map.
We're all over the map. Well, when you started the conversation and reading what you read about Gilbert Talks, you said the word diverse. And I grinned. And then, Alan, you brought out the word. When we got together, I don't think we planned on being a group that was going to be as diverse as we ended up being. And we didn't know that. We didn't know how diverse we really were.
You mean the
until-
five of us?
The five of us. We didn't know the five of us until we were driving home from Howard's cabin.
Lakeside, yeah.
Yeah, from Howard's cabin, we had our very first retreat, and the topic came up of faith. And all five of us have a different faith background, and none of us are LDS. So this was a very interesting conversation because it came up
In Gilbert, Arizona.
in Gilbert, Arizona. It came up as how I was driving is how does a Jew become a CEO of a Catholic hospital?
Yeah. That was a great conversation.
And I was in the back seat going, oh my God.
Well, and that conversation generated some pretty healthy discussion
It did.
and
It
debate
did.
and disagreement and fisticuffs and you know,
And
down the
had we
ride.
gone with our working title, we would be sitting here today talking about the Gilbert Haymakers.
That's correct. That was our first name.
Yeah.
Because Gilbert is the capital of hay. That was our original thoughts. And
Yeah.
That must have been your idea.
I don't know if it was mine or not. I don't
Howard's
know.
idea.
We didn't like the idea because the term haymaker obviously means money.
Fight.
Well, and
Oh, does it mean
Fighting.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't,
Throw a haymaker.
yeah.
I didn't know that, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought haymakers people that made the money.
Those are the rainmakers.
Gilbert, that may be.
Maybe it
The
is
rainmakers.
rainmakers. Yeah.
The rainmakers. But you wouldn't know because it's Arizona.
Well,
And I
we
think
came up with haymakers because of Chandler, Compadres, Tempe Diablos, Scottsdale Charge, Phoenix Thunderbirds. We wanted to have a group in our
Akin to
community
that.
because we didn't have one. We're approaching a couple 100,000 people in Gilbert, and we didn't have but we wanted it to be different. And our biggest piece of difference, and I'll be very frank up front, and not exclude every one of the other organizations at the time were only men organizations.
Well, which think about what we just talked about and the notion of diversity, and someone said surprise at the diversity. Look at us.
Yeah.
Really?
We don't look that diverse.
We don't look that diverse.
Yeah.
And we
But
talked
diversity
about
of
that.
thought's important.
Talked about that early on. We had conversations about what you just said. Those other groups excluded women.
Well, you did
And-
call us 5 rich guys, white guys, at
Well,
one time.
we were, and
Yeah.
we are, and so I think that challenged us because we aspired to something that was diverse. Yet, in so many ways,
Didn't
we're
feel
not.
it ourselves.
In some ways, we certainly are, but how does that imply about who we wanted to be and how we wanted to organize ourselves?
I think I can articulate that.
It was a topic.
Pretty early on, we wanted diversity of thought. We experienced that when we were expressing that, but we wanted to be intentional with that and not to be pejorative or critical, but it was a time when a lot of civic activities, a lot of the same people were showing up at them, whether it be the town council or it would be, the community regional in the library, or it was museum activities, or it was other charitable activities, historical society, et cetera. And there was kind of a common working thesis of what Gilbert thought. As we were growing, that was needed to wane because it wasn't accurate. It wasn't complete. It was accurate maybe for some people. It just wasn't complete.
And it wasn't
So-
serving the needs as we were evolving.
It wasn't. So I used a phrase that, again, I'm not trying to be pejorative, but I said, how do we get others other than the usual suspects?
I was just going to go there because I remember that.
Because
I was
that's
going to
where
say
it's
when
a
we
lot
had
of
a lot of conversation about not the usual suspects.
Right.
I remember that now that you're saying it, Howard. We talked a lot about that earlier. Not the usual suspects.
And part of that was forming our first board, weren't the norm, probably.
And you can see what's happened. Yeah.
We've
Incredible.
evolved to the abnormal.
So I had started to work in the Phoenix art world and starting to get networked and connected. And I went to a beautiful home in Paradise Valley, which was this congregation of Phoenix art contributors. And I invited them down to the gallery because I thought we had wonderful works in there. And the answer given to me by 3 people who were somewhat senior leadership in the art world in Phoenix was, I don't go to Gilbert. How do we break that perspective?
Bring them the
of Gilbert?
champions. That's how you break it.
And so part of this was, how do we show up? Because we're getting a lot of criticism in the Republic and other news outlets about how we were behaving. It was visible, not just internally. And I believe it was 3 years from the first meetings until we had our first talk.
Yeah, we took our time. We wanted to get
We
it
thought
right.
a lot, yeah.
Howard, when you delved in and we really pushed the unusual suspect topic, we spent I'm going to say hundreds of hours on meeting and talking and amongst ourselves and wanted us to make sure that we did it right. And I think all of us would agree to be able to promote any of us
And that was
as individuals.
That's
Yes,
absolutely true. And it was also, we were very explicit during those hundreds of hours of talks and meetings about this notion of not promoting anything. Remember?
Yes.
We didn't represent a position. We didn't back candidates clearly.
Nor did we want to be beholden to anyone.
That's right.
And
No.
so there's a reason we came out of pocket
Yeah.
and
That's
wouldn't
true.
even take as much as a sponsorship
That's
for
true.
an event.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do remember those contributions. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was thousands of dollars at a time to us.
Did Alan ever?
No.
Yeah, or
No.
He still, he would.
I still get calls.
He would throw, let's be nice, actually, because obviously, he can't afford it now because he had to sell his car.
That's right.
Because he bought an airplane.
we spent some of that time was, okay, if we want differences of opinion, just have them. They exist. How do we get them out and verbal? One was, how do we create a safe place where they feel they can show up? How do we actually elicit them to speak up, not just be in the room or be in the arena? And what do we need to do to get speakers that help represent maybe some of those at least, so it catches somebody's eye and said, oh, maybe they're actually talking about me, that maybe I could come when that wasn't necessarily coming down to the town council or to other avenues where they wanted community input. And I don't have a good sense of how we would rate ourselves on how we actually did with that. But I do know that was our intentionality. We thought about that environment, that safe place. And then how do we, I'm not quite sure the right word, but how do we celebrate it when they do show up, or somebody does show up that doesn't usually come out to a civic event, and cheer them on for having a different opinion, having the courage to speak up?
What did our term civil discourse? Where did that? I know it was our very first talk. Was it you, Alan? I think it might have been.
Well, I'm thinking about what Alan just said as we started, and that was, what was the environment? It was anything but civil discourse.
It was an attempt to move to civility in our discussions about what's going on.
And have discourse and disagreements, but be respectful.
One of the things that, through our scripted questions, that I answered 3 or 4 times the same way was, we created a safe environment for people to show up. I remember at one of the talks, it was I think it was the second drug talk, I'm at a table and people are sharing about their parents' addiction and how they survived, or how they themselves became addicted to some drug. It was like, I'm not sure I would have opened up that way at the table, but here were people that were strangers talking to strangers about their background. And this happened repeatedly. It wasn't a singular event. And then each table would report during some of these talks that we had about what they talked about. And it was stunning how blunt and candid they were of their experience. Raw is the right word.
Stepping back, Alan, you talked about some things that were going on at the time that you felt were divisive in the community. And I feel like we're back at that same place right now, right? We've got the right against the, all these things going on. Do you recall what types of things were happening at that time that really had you fired up to start that conversation?
There was issues at the school board, and I remember going to some of those meetings, and the way they spoke to different, very clearly you could draw a line, conservative, liberal, however you want to couch that characterization, but there were 2 groups there. They weren't looking for a common cause. They were interested in fighting, and it showed up that way. And then the audience, of course, bought into that, and so when you had your citizen moment to talk, it just continued, and that was uncomfortable.
Would you agree, Alan, to characterize it wasn't a tourist minority, irrelevant of politics? Because I don't remember it being secular.
No. I don't mean to throw a political connection with that. There was an outcome that each group wanted to achieve, and the approach to that outcome was very different.
And you could feel it.
Oh my gosh!
And that was the overriding issue in the town at the time that prompted you guys to sit down and have this conversation.
Palpable.
Well, I was in a town council meeting without mentioning names, and the conversation of homeless came up. And why are we giving money to a homeless shelter in Phoenix? And that's so we have some place to take homeless people. And then one of the council members said, why don't we just arrest them and put them in jail? And then the answer given by another council member was, well, that's more expensive. I almost fell out of my chair. It's like, this is not a community conversation.
And then you had the contingency that said, why are we spending any money? We don't have any homeless in Gilbert.
Yeah.
But that got you guys interested. And I wasn't here then, but was that issue, so Jan's question of the divisiveness and what was going on, was it the education issue and the school board that really was visible here, or was there also infighting and debate and nastiness around other things, or was it really that education topic?
It was kind of a whole thing about how we're going to solve a problem, and some people didn't even see the problem. Some people thought the problem was a crisis, and it came with that kind of energy. Our first talk was fabulous, and Kimber Lanning came and spoke.
She did a great job.
Oh,
she was fantastic.
Yeah, just when I get in my car, and I remember the story she told about being in her car, and it was, wow, I need to calm down because the outcomes are better when you do. And that kind of drove us.
Yep, just to give some context, she founded Local First.
Local First.
Local First Arizona.
Yeah,
right?
and very driven on, and she still runs Tumbleweed to this day.
Stinkweed.
Stinkweed
Records.
The records at Central and Camelback.
And Local First is still thriving.
Oh, very much thriving. So her philosophy of what we really wanted our community to hear is why we invited her to be first. Fair?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And what
She really allowed us to set the table
and
in
very
terms
few
of what
people
civil
probably-
discourse should look
and
like.
probably very few people even knew who she was.
Very true.
Nobody knew. That's true.
And she ended up being on our board.
She did. Which was amazing.
Yeah, thank you for correcting.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
And that first one also helped to set the pace. When you're talking about environment, we were at Art Intersection in the gallery space. And I mean, this would, public discourse either happen behind doors, of course that happens all the time, but the public stuff was more of a sterile environment, a town council meeting or a board meeting or whatever it is. And so we had these, location was important to us. And that really helped to set the nature. We had art around the walls, again, to represent, softened, more relational, and a public space that the people can come into and not feel like, well, this is different.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the next one, the third one, but we had it in my backyard, in our orchard.
That's right.
And again, it was intended to be safer place, comfortable. I'd never been here before, never done something like this, kind of going on record in public in this setting.
Yeah.
All of that trying to work toward getting people who have a different opinion and don't feel it's being represented, but I don't want to judge, but at least a component of, and I'm not sure that if I came and spoke up, it would be heard, respected, or appreciated.
Yeah, and you know, a couple thoughts there. Howard, we were very intentional about the spaces, like you say, for those reasons. We always had food in a couple of cases.
We always pay for the food.
And we also had time for people to mingle, right? So
donated.
before the event and after the formal event. And as I think about it now, I don't remember having these discussions, but the time to mingle and share stories and build off of some pretty intense subject matter.
Table talk, we called it.
We did, we called it table talk. But that built connections between individuals. And when you build connections between individuals, people open up more and fear goes down. And people, just through those forums, I think we facilitated discussion that just wouldn't otherwise happen in a more structured forum.
One of the comments in this script that we're not following was, were you driving towards an outcome?
Yeah.
And what Tim just said, that was the outcome.
And we had some debates about that, remember?
Oh, yes.
We had debates about, and I was thinking about this as I was driving over here this morning, about action. So what action do we want to come out of these talks, or what? And the debate was, well, the action is the talk. Well, no, we need action. We need
The
policy
follow-up.
change.
The
or
talk
we
will
need,
have been a success if.
and we went round and around. And I remember, actually, I think you and I had some disagreement on that, Alan. I was of the mind that we just have the talk, and that is the objective, and sort of anti-action planning afterwards. And I think you were more of the mind of what next, what action comes out, what step, and that we ever really resolved. But
I don't think we did. For example, I just happened to read the website this morning to remind me of the public mission and purpose of Gilbert Talks. And now, I'm not saying it hasn't been wordsmithed since the beginning and all that.
I don't think it
Still
has.
has the
It's
term
still verbatim.
it's the same.
policy making.
Yeah.
And that was a bit of a lightning rod
That was.
among us.
Yeah.
Right. The whole-
And I don't know that this was a intentional outcome, but there was a bit of a compromise in the sense of the people who tend and have strong opinions should be involved with our community at the policymaking level. But we as a board should not write the white paper that says,
No.
this is what we all came to in the discussion last Tuesday night, and therefore, the town council, the school board, or
and
whatever.
it's fascinating. We never and we purposely discussed that. In fact, a couple controversial, and you said, Tim, about, and we talked about the talk, and then what is the follow-up. We can close our eyes and think for a second of the talks and what we thought them now, and what happened when we did them, the controversy that we had when we said, Gilbert, the good, the bad, the ugly. We're
Yeah.
downtown Gilbert.
Oh, yeah.
Then the very next day, or I think it was that day, I got a
Yeah.
phone call from the city manager.
Yeah.
You're not doing that.
Yeah, you need to change
Or
that
Gilbert
title.
has a drug problem. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And those were.
It does.
those-
Did we
It
end up
does, and we
calling
will.
it? Did we change the name?
No,
the good, the bad,
we
the
did
ugly?
not.
We used it.
because
We
we were
did.
beholden
We
to
were,
no
we
one.
were,
And
we
we
were
said no.
pressured. That's too strong.
Well, no, we were.
We were.
We were.
If you're paying your own bills, you have the luxury of making those.
That's
decisions.
right.
Well, at least
If I
some of
can,
yeah.
if I can piggyback on something Tim brought up with setting the tone and so forth, and I picked up a wine glass to make my point, leave it to the food guy at the dais. But we served wine at our first event. Not all events, but we chose to serve wine at our first event.
I don't remember that. We did it at your
And
place.
that
huh?
was in Gilbert, Arizona. In that time,
Gonna have a
that
sip of
was
my wine here.
unusual, and it really set a tone, I think, for the entire organization that they're out to do something different.
Well, the tone, if people don't understand that don't know very much about that historical piece of Gilbert, how many years was alcohol at all?
Almost 20.
And then you started finally.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you.
That was the first time Jim went to the barbecue.
But you actually said to me early on, you did not do it for a specific reason. I'm like,
So the event that was in Howard's Orchard, right? We got smocks because the message was to serve.
Aprons.
Aprons.
Sorry.
Servers' aprons.
Yeah. And so we had Gilbert Talks on them.
Green aprons, right?
Yeah. So it was the intention that we weren't there to be at some elevated level, but instead kind of perhaps, in a servant mode with the people who showed up.
and we act that way as well. And
Highly
back to the
intentional.
green, somebody told me it was
John Deere Green.
John Deere green we picked, and we were actually at your barbecue, and we saw the tractor, and we picked the color.
Yeah.
That's where that came from.
That's where it came from, and the tractor that's actually in Joe's is where we came up with the original color choice.
And
John
that's where
Deere
Gilbert
green.
Talks logo, that's John Deere Green. It's a Pantone color.
But
Go ahead.
to Tim's point about the importance of even walking around before the event and getting to know people and engaging in conversation, so many events, particularly corporate events, but so many events you go to, the table, the breakout table, just for years, it was like, oh, the breakout table.
Forced conversation.
Oh, they know I talk a lot, so I'll certainly be the table speaker. I'll be called upon and I'll have to go up and write on a whiteboard.
And then report out.
And you must report out. And somebody has to be the note taker. That all had a negative connotation for me. But what really blew my mind about this organization was, I think it was talk 3 actually, and ended up being with the drug problem, and how those table talks, people could not wait to say what was on their mind. People had learned something that moved them. People had learned something. I learned what a Skittles party was.
Holy
I
cow.
was devastated. I didn't. I was.
Skittle party is?
I would say that was my first talk that I actually
Oh
went
my
to.
gosh, Oh, was it?
And
was.
to
Were you there
this
as well?
day, I talked
Emily,
to
were you
people.
And
there?
have Chief Dorn
Yeah.
talk about that is, are you nuts?
Well, what is a Skittle party, Alan?
Oh, young people go to their parents' medicine cabinet,
Yeah.
grab some stuff. They get to the party, they put it in a bowl. You take a handful,
Take a
you
handful
pop
and
'em in.
wash it down
All
with
the
some
different
alcohol.
colored
And the lady's
Just
name escapes me right now, but she said
Libby.
today, Libby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Libby. Yeah,
had
Libby.
a
She's a
teenager
nurse.
die in her arms.
Yeah.
Jeff Flancer's conversation about the death of Max.
There was not a dry eye in the place. But
you want
those.
to pull a cork out of a bottle
Yeah.
and forget everything but this moment?
Yeah.
And the young man whose name's out of my mind again from the drug rehabilitation.
Well, he ended up being on our board.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that guy.
Stunning.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Chase.
Is that, am
Yeah,
I
that
right?
was his
Yeah.
name. Yeah,
From the residential facility down in
Exactly.
the south part of
Exactly. So those types of table talks where you cannot wait to get together and share talk about the ideas you just heard, that was exciting.
Did we go out to that place together?
I went out there. I know.
I went out there. I
We
think
went. We were going to use it as the
a
venue,
venue,
and it
that's
just didn't
right.
work out. We ended up at Mercy.
at Mercy Gilbert, but we did go out there and we
We
walked
did.
the place.
We did.
That's right.
Howard, like throwing a pebble in a water and the ripple effect. There's still a ripple. We're still having impact. We mentioned Jeff Flynn, and we get goose pimples to this day.
Yeah.
But Howard, earlier you said when we talked about forming Gilbert Talks, we used the term the unusual suspects. I'm thinking now every single talk, there was somebody there I did not know. Every single talk, there was people who came that were brand new. And I think when we talk about if we were successful, that could be a measurement that we truly did encourage people to come that would not be the normal suspects.
They were all free, right?
Yeah.
They were all free, which
We tried to get the topics, we tried to strike while the iron is hot, when something would come up, so that there wasn't a long distance between an event, a community-oriented concern, and an opportunity to talk about it. So we changed some talks kind of almost at the last minute or 3 months out, that kind of thing, in order to try to be current. Jan, you struck a bell with me, I guess 10 minutes ago. You tried to get us to come on into the future here a little bit, and that is, was the environment in which we started similar to what maybe we've experienced the last 5 years? And I would say yes, although my concern about the last 5 years is even greater than it was when we, particularly with the level of uncivil discourse that has happened publicly, that newspapers love to run with it because it sells newspapers, and not too many newspapers anymore, but that's still, it's enticing to people and they want to hear more about it. And now it's all on social media and where it runs. And social media creates an environment of at least a sense of anonymity, even if it isn't, that it's safer to lob a grenade under a table to talk about some subject matter or to respond to somebody. That's greatly concerning to me. And the need has not changed. Just as an example, this sounds like it should go on again today, but one of our topics was, what is tech doing to our teens? Well,
That's right.
it's worse now.
That would be the evolution of the talk. We talked about how people were psychologically, teenagers, damaged, but I think today we would talk about suicide.
Mental health.
Yeah, that was a powerful talk.
absolutely.
Kudos to you all for not only taking the vision and running with it, but doing things that we didn't even imagine in terms of a podcast. I mean, what a way to reach an entirely new, broader audience.
Hats off.
We're thrilled that you're taking these steps. It's fantastic.
And we're still getting paid a quarter
we
for
get
every
royalties,
follower, right?
Yeah,
so
royalty.
when this goes viral.
But can I just comment on that?
Go for it.
Because thinking about where we are today, and I was thinking about when we started and what was going on in the world, and you guys have helped me remember what was going on. Fast forward now, 13 years, it's a very, very different world. And I
Very
think
different town.
it's a different town, and I if we were starting over right now, it seems to me that the reset phrase like civil discourse is gone. I just think that the mode of interacting in our society is so different, and it has become
The norm.
and acceptable to fight and be bombastic and to throw grenades, and think it would work. Not that the concepts aren't compelling, but I think if we were to start over right now, I bet our approaches would be different. I think I'm not sure. It'd be fascinating to think through that, but I just think the readiness to embrace what we set out to do is it's
One of the things
almost
though,
gone.
about the talks that we did, none of them were directly pointed at the commotion that was going on.
Yeah.
Thought it was sometimes.
Yeah,
But it wasn't.
But like the drugs,
Yeah.
the teen tech, those conversations happened because there was an issue, but what it did was to elevate our ability to maybe network or talk or get together.
Yeah.
And I think if we can have conversations about difficult subjects, but not attacked directly, and we never did.
We never did, and maybe I'll do it on one hand, on the other. And on one hand is society may just have changed our norms, and what we set out to do was anachronistic, and it's now gone. On the other hand, I do think that the loud, bombastic voices are still the minority in our society, and I think there's an undercurrent of people who still want to engage with their fellow citizens peacefully and talk about hard things. Maybe
In a safe
today,
environment.
and maybe today, if we set out to do this, we would actually help them come forward at a time where it's harder today to come forward than it was 12, 13 years ago.
I think you're right.
When we started.
I think one of the words as a society, and I think those that really want that civility, if it's offered to them, I believe that they will take advantage of it. Hence why we've had now how many talks, and people are still coming, and new people.
I actually have a recommendation, and I'm sure the current administration of Gilbert Talks would hate for old codgers to come back and tell them what to
That
do.
was actually going to be one of my questions, so I appreciate
Okay,
it.
well, good. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Talking about me.
We've got yes, this panelist definitely tilted this direction.
from
the
the older side of the room.
That's right. Yeah, that's why I spoke up.
Really quick, it's 263 years. I added it up.
Wow.
Oh wow,
Is that
The
right?
five of us.
Yeah.
How many years are just those two?
No, we're moving on. I was saying that I think one of the things that people don't see is an example of doing it well. And I would encourage you guys to continue to say, when we have a talk, it hardly matters what the topic is. Some might be a little more conducive than is. The program should help someone see good, robust discussion, presentations from different perspectives without the panelists devouring one another, so to speak. The illustration to me is that our U.S. Congress does not have robust debates anymore. They're talking points to the press and to their constituents. They don't even read the bills anymore. The bills are thousands of pages long, and there's no discussion about the content and the substance other than sound bites. And so what people think is, oh, that's what we should be doing. So that's what social media, by and large, is. You listen to a newscast. Rarely do they stay on any one topic for any more than 22 seconds, and they're off to the next one. And there's no robust discussion of people having differences of opinion who will choose to respect one another and be able to say, there was a time in Congress that people would vehemently disagree with one another on the floor and then go have dinner together.
They were statesmen.
That's well said.
They were statesmen,
And
and the term doesn't exist anymore. And would you statesmen for our community?
I would say we were wannabes, at least. We
It
wanted
was
to see that.
it was a goal.
Yeah. And I would encourage, maybe I'll use your word, let the community see statesmen having substantive conversations with different opinions and take at least 30 minutes to do it. No, nobody wants to take that much time, but to see it done could actually help break a mold. And it's not outright teaching people how to do that, but it starts with modeling. And I think part of what the early folks saw, the five of us respecting one another and having differences of opinion, and even though we weren't really panelists ever, we emceed, but that was about it. Mm-hmm. And we brought other people in to have those kinds of conversations where it was, they got to see it. And I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but I just would encourage more of the same.
Thank you. Well, this has been fascinating. This is amazing conversation, and I would like this to go on all day. Obviously, we would like to keep it under a constraint, I guess, a little bit. But I do have a question, and some of this has been positioned a little bit, but if you could turn back time, if you could step back into the beginning stages of Gilbert Talks, knowing where it is at today and where it is metamorphosized into, would you change anything? Are there things that you would like to see or do different?
Yes.
Would you like to elaborate? Or are you?
Next question.
Let's go, Howard.
I'll just take it on myself. Yeah. I did not do enough of getting to know people personally who had a different opinion than I did and invite them to them. Please come join me. I'll come pick you up at 6 o'clock. It starts at 6:30. Good conversation ahead of time. I did not do enough of that, of the hand over to someone, personal invitation to draw them into a given topic or just to the event itself to understand no matter what the topic was. Could have done a better job at that.
Yeah, I agree. We talked a lot, the whole issue of the whole topic of the usual suspects. We worked really hard. We could have done better. I think we could have done better. We could have, early on in putting the board together or engaging people to be with us, we could have found more diverse voices and thoughts.
Room for improvement, no matter what you're involved with.
We ended up with more of the usual suspects, I think, than we intended.
Yeah.
And maybe that was because they were what we were doing and it was valuable to have them. But I think if I were to start over, I would try to do more of that. The other thing that I thought about is, remember we talked about different forum? We talked about doing less formal sort of gatherings and talks in people's homes.
Mm-hmm.
Did we?
The follow-up.
We never got to it.
Did we do
We
one
did
maybe?
one.
We did a couple follow-ups.
We did one or two. I think that.
I'll tell you what I think I'd like to see happen again is TEDx. I'd like to see that come back to life
Well, it has. One's
No.
Oh, I haven't heard about it if there
No.
was. Yeah.
Because y'all own the rights.
not anymore.
Oh,
Not
right.
anymore. We did
Okay.
let the license go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There weren't enough people who wanted to champion that. And so we
Well-
had to let it go to give someone else the opportunity.
COVID
to.
killed TED Talk.
It did.
Got it.
Just absolutely.
Killed it.
So is there an interested group in Gilbert thinking about a TEDx talk?
Not to my knowledge currently.
Yeah. I thought there was a lot of potential there for a lot of
How many did we do? 2
exploration.
or 3?
Too.
Oh, no, when we had 400, 300?
Oh, yeah.
I think that was
One
after
at
I
Gilbert
left.
High
I don't
was-
remember.
Wow.
That.
Huh?
What were the topics?
They were varied, right?
Varied.
It
Why,
was just
why Tim left?
And so it was a speaker.
There's
We had
multiple speakers.
Multiple
6, 7
speakers.
speakers.
Yeah,
They
and
all-
we
15
said
minutes.
very succinctly in the beginning it would never
We're
be
out
one
of
of us.
state.
I was
But it's about people that have a passion for something.
Nice.
Joe Johnson gave a
It's hats.
talk on hats.
Really?
It's all video recorded. I mean, you can all go
Why
back and see
didn't
that.
Why didn't you guys invite me?
That was on purpose.
Why didn't?
Did you invite me back?
How much time do we have?
You weren't even in the state, Tim.
I know,
Yeah,
but
you became a trader.
well, I mean, Alan could have flown up and got.
It's a true
Just pick me
statement.
up.
It is true.
That was rude, yeah. But that's another avenue that I think had a possibility for a passion about personal achievement. And going back to how the topics evolved, they never really pointed at something going on in the community. So, well, we got to solve that. They were about something that we could agree on. You know, the one thing that gets me when I get wound up about whatever's going on politically or governing wise is soccer games still go on. Saturday morning, soccer tournaments go on. And these parents are out there watching their kids develop and mature. And that is the fundamental common. We want our kids to be happy, healthy, educated. And then we wrap all this other crap around it. And then we get upset. We have to remember the fundamentals. And I think that's what we drove to, were fundamentals. Tim said something in a meeting once, and he was leaving the hospital, Gilbert Mercy. And it's a non-smoking campus. And he had a really tough day. Whatever it was that went on in his day, he was wound around the axle. And here's a guy standing outside the front door smoking a cigarette. And Tim made a conscious decision. The first choice was, I'm going to go rip this guy a new one. Okay? The second one, he was going to say, how was your day? And he said, I just had a baby. And it diffused all
remember
of
that.
the anger or frustration or whatever it was that was inside Tim.
Tim smoked a cigarette with him.
But the point was, there's something that diffused that. Health had that fantastic video.
Oh, that was incredible.
If you ever can license, it's on my computer because I show it every once in a while. If you can get through that without tears in your eyes, I can't. But it was about not knowing what's going on in everybody's life, but you look at them and you make a judgment.
Everybody
Yeah.
Tad brought in a book about
Cleveland
place
Clinic video.
and how to create place. I don't remember the exact title of it.
And thirds.
Yeah, he's like, okay, so you got home, you might have church. I don't know if work ever
Work.
fell into as a place.
There's a third place.
Yeah.
But how do you make that third place? And if we could get all of our government leaders to read that, local or otherwise, we'd probably realize what we need to do to create place that we want to be at.
Howard's comments he made a minute ago about reaching across the aisle, I would agree with that. And I think take heed of, and we did. I mean, there were people that were involved that some of us didn't necessarily personally care for, but we purposely extended the hand. And I would encourage you and your board to do that and really force yourself not be the usual suspect and to reach across the aisle, whatever that is, of individual. Think very, very.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this conversation because the conversations Jan and I have been having perfectly aligns. Everything you've said, I'm like, we were talking about that. We were talking about that. We were talking about that.
Good.
And the future looking piece of it with hearing all of this history is being that intentional bridge to the different opinions.
So it worked.
It did.
It's working.
Absolutely.
It's working.
It's working.
Well, and sometimes
Yes.
you look back on these talks, through the lens of further experience. And for instance, the tourism. We did a talk on tourism.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if you recall, wasn't thought of necessarily as a tourism mecca.
No, it certainly wasn't.
And
I was even a little confused as to why we were doing that.
exactly, it almost felt out of place. But boy, don't we feel silly now when in 2024, 5.7 million people came to Gilbert. 4 million of them went to the Heritage District. And so
17 of them went to Joe's Barbecue.
maybe 18. Yes, you could say that.
Do you still do one day a year for free?
We don't do a free entire day. We still do free birthdays.
We still do free birthdays,
Yeah,
but
but we don't-
there was a day.
But for years,
remember that?
the entire day you gave
yes.
away free food.
And the line
How,
going out of your place
how many
was
thousands
amazing.
of people?
We've
In a day?
given away as many as 6,000 a day.
In a day?
We had somebody give 4.3 seconds for 10 hours. Yeah.
Throwing them at them?
No one could, but there's no, the infrastructure couldn't handle it. The police guy, there was no parking. It was just out.
Or potties, right?
Yeah. So,
But then the politicians showed up with their petitions to be signed.
oh, that was, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was a funny
did.
event.
It was a
All these
mecca.
people waiting. Got the people to talk to.
But I think you're right. Gilbert has become a very unique destination location. People talk about downtown Gilbert and what's evolved from a really fun place to be with your family at nighttime, weekends with the food fairs or the fairs, and the complete manifestation and change of the tower. I was here yesterday for lunch at Liberty Market, and I stood and watched kids play in the water, and how much that's changed. And
The
inviting
mayor's
people.
state of the town was given from Water Tower Park.
Really?
Thought that would happen.
Is his bench still down
I don't
I don't know.
there? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't know.
think so, but I'm not
It must
certain.
be there somewhere.
The last time I walked by, it was still there.
Was it?
So one of the things that we have dealt with and we've had is how do we encourage more engagement from the community in the talks? And I'm not sure if any of you have any ideas. I mean, I like the idea of actually reaching out and specifically inviting people to come to the talks. But do you have any other ideas on how we engage community?
Do one of these once a month.
Well, it's got to be social media.
You do these.
Use social media to broadcast the fact that, and I think that will be self-evident.
But break it up into small pieces, 1 2 minutes, because trust me, Jim and I can't pay attention for longer than a minute.
And spark the talk on the podcast with something controversial and interesting.
Yeah.
And having people on the unusual suspects. Don't just have the mayor, the city manager, having individuals on that will talk about I mean, we didn't know that when Jeff came to speak about his son Max's death when he was on drugs and fell and drowned in the canal. I mean, when you mentioned it wasn't a dry eye of the room, we weren't planning that day. And I'll tell you, it was absolutely incredible to see and we ended up doing 2 talks on drugs.
We did.
And they were so impactful. Dr. McHale killed it.
He did.
Oh, yeah.
And we actually chose to have that talk at the hospital, remember?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And it was
All the drugs were.
I knew what an amygdala was.
But
right?
back to Jan's question, he said that
Yes.
what more can we do? What more can we do to get more people involved? And I said, obviously, we said social media. I think is
Well, I
thoughts.
think a lot of the people came because the volunteers that were there, they brought people with them and invited people. So rather than coming because a couple of us say you ought to show up, it was the other people that were participating that had network reach.
Yep.
I will say there was a council member that got up and talked about mental health treatment. And it's on video, so you can see it. I won't mention his name. But he said, we have to get over the not in my backyard. To me, when I heard him say that, and I videoed it, so it's on an archive video somewhere, I saw transformation in an individual that I thought would never say that. But I think the volunteers actually helped to bolster
because it is in our backyard.
Yeah. Oh,
It's in Albert.
and it was
Everyone's
clear.
backyard.
It was, as Jeff went on about, I couldn't get any counseling. I couldn't get any coverage because my insurance wouldn't pay for it. But more importantly, I couldn't get an appointment with a psychologist or a counselor. And access and availability.
Awesome. Thank you for that feedback. We appreciate it.
I wouldn't shy away from what you would consider to be controversial. In fact, I'd wade in and
Lean in.
and be a leader in terms of that civil discourse.
Yeah.
And if individuals start or trying to have an agenda, I would be very fast to shut it down.
Well, we also started, remember we started all the talks. We introduced it, that
Civil discourse.
civil discourse and almost that the sub didn't matter. Someone said that earlier. I mean, wading into difficult topics was great and important to its purpose. And, it was about how we talked about them, more no, maybe not more than what we talked about, but it was as important as what we talked about, and we made that clear up front. So if you're gonna have controversial subjects, you sure need to set the tone and the expectation. And I would imagine it might be hard to manage maybe than it was.
But maybe more important,
Maybe not.
and maybe just getting into an environment where civil discourse is fostered and seeing that it actually happens. Because if you get your news from this channel or this channel, you have no idea there's a middle ground anymore, and you choose your channel, okay, whether that's social media or whatever, but you choose it, you believe it, you live in it. All of your friends think like you do, and there's no opportunity to learn. And so I think you have a great opportunity.
Said something that I think we've talked about a little bit. Title really, at the grand scheme of things, wasn't the most important thing. It was fostering dialogue and provoking people to talk about this topic. That became that rich piece in
That's
the middle.
exactly it.
So you
The
could
title,
learn.
the title was, it was, it was a catch. And we always wanted to have the dot, and we spent a ton of time on titles. At the end of the day, it was about that middle richness of the top people. You ask a question, then you shut up.
When everyone
Listen.
talks about lifetime learning, how many events do you go to where you truly learn something?
All of ours.
Of course. I agree. No, it's important.
Really, if you think about it, it's been years. Since we started, and each one of us will have a very profound memory of something that happened at probably every single one of them. If we think back of what was happening during that time, the dialogue that happened, and where we chose to have it, the venue. I think Howard, you were absolutely correct. Was so, I think, pivotal on creating this open environment. But the impact, because we talk about it today, and we've not been together in a long time as the band, but now that we are here, think rebuild on it again.
So I have a question, so I'm going to sit in your chair for just a moment. Favorite talk and favorite moment in the talk?
Oh gosh, my memory is a little challenged these days.
That's very true. It is.
But two of them
You're
that
still
we've
charming.
Well, and I don't know about a moment. I think more about the impact that I felt. There were two, and we talked about them here today. One was the opening talk. I just remember being so impressed with Kimber's interest and engagement when we started to talk to her. She was all in. And she didn't know Gilbert. Gilbert didn't know here, yet she came out here to in this community because of the concept, and she was really good. That was very impactful. And that talk of drugs, I thought everything about it, and the table talks where people open personal and profound and painful things, and what that did for in human. So those are my two.
Ken Bennett did about the economy, and he used
Taxes,
about taxes. And
expenditures from the
He
state.
used
Oh, that's
Kleenex
right.
boxes to make his point.
That was so
It
right.
was genius. It was so simple. It was genius.
It was unbelievable.
Now that you're saying that, yeah,
He reminded me.
I'm sure he did.
He explained government funding and the tax system.
We had, I don't remember the exact nature of the topic, but we had some people talking about education, and it included, you were reminding me, James Bean, and also Helen Hollins, who's been in Gilbert and had been in Mesa on staff. And
James is now a
So there were some very substantive information on education, that one. Another one that just brings a little smile to my face. I don't even remember what the topic was, but it was one of them in our orchard. And we had Mexican food.
Serrano's.
And we had
thank you, Serrano's.
mariachis.
yes, we
They
did.
did.
Mariachis, that's right.
And just the idea, well, that's something different. You don't think about a serious subject, and all of these were serious subjects.
Yeah.
And then some fun too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
it was
intended
such
it.
an inviting environment. It was engaging a discourse.
What's your favorite?
I have to say is when Tim Dorn got up and spoke, and knowing that his family history had, drug-related issues, the police chief, and he spoke candidly,
Yeah.
and that was very important for me. The candid nature of the conversations, where there wasn't veiled or shielded. It was, again, to use the word raw, and that happened in that drug conversation. Happened in the tech and teens. So those are probably my two most memorable moments, impact to me, because I didn't know what they were going to say.
And in a normal environment, would you agree, Alan, that a police chief would never do that?
Never.
No.
Oh, God, no.
He got up there in his police chief uniform.
Yes.
Yeah.
And was raw.
Absolutely.
And,
He did.
and opened his kimono.
Yeah.
Who knew that Chief Dorn had a kimono?
It's my story.
But then
I mean,
maybe talking about the teenager dying in her arms the day before or the morning of this talk. Like, okay, this is real. I mean, it's not a story on social media.
Yeah.
It's the person right here that I know, and this happened.
Yeah.
It's
And it was the result of a Skittles party.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
it was a lot to take in.
My most memorable thing would be almost all of them I actually remember toward the end. We would always linger. We always would hang around. But every single and saying, and they meant it. They really genuinely were glad they came and then came back.
Well, you know what, Jim, on that note, we talked about this. Remember, so you think about the normal corporate event or community event or whatever. The event ends and people are
Beeline.
Our events, they stayed. You remember? People stayed around. It's time to go. We're leaving. Time to
But we actually moved in Howard's house, remember?
People stuck around
I
and
started
talked.
wandering around telling people they needed to go home so I could go to sleep.
Every time.
It wasn't quite that bad. Come on. The genuine...
It was 7 o'clock. He had to go to sleep.
That is true.
Well, this has been fascinating. I would like to just throw it out for any last thoughts or comments before we wrap up today from any.
Don't give up. Don't though. Just say this isn't working. We worked very hard, and we tried to do things over and over to have an impact, and it was hard. And it's not easy. And and recruiting individuals that really want to roll up their sleeves. I think, quite frankly, we got lucky because all 5 of us rolled up our sleeves. All of us did, and all of us were engaged, and we were in it. And none of us had an opinion. None of us had a personal agenda. None. Absolutely not. And except Alan. And I'm kidding. But I would say that forge forward. And when you asked the question, Jan, earlier about what would you change, and I said, no, I wouldn't change anything. I'm a big believer if you're out of a car and throwing it out the window. Look for the future. Look straight ahead. If we worry about what's in the rearview mirror and keep looking at it, keep worrying about it, you're going to run into what's in front of you. You're going to run into
Let's explain something. The story of Jim driving one of his very fast cars downtown. He's at a stoplight, and he just hammers it when the light turns green. And within 4 seconds, there's a cop behind him. And the cop says to him, "You didn't see that I was right behind you at that light? Because you threw your rearview mirror out the window. You never told us that part."
That is a fair statement. Yes, and actually, he said, "You didn't know." No, I didn't know you were right behind me. The speed limit was 25, and I was going 50, like in a second. Yeah. And I went to the wrong Starbucks. Yeah. And he goes,
He got you.
He did get me. And I remember that story.
What I would say is, I'm still compelled by the premise and the mission and why we set out to do this. I just feel like the strategies have to be very different today, and we have to evolve in how we do what we set out to do. I think it's still compelling. I think what I would advise, figure out what to do in today's society and in order to drive this mission
The
forward.
strategy may change. I think the foundation of talking is still highly relevant. The old adage about 2 partners always agree, one of them is not needed. If I just expand that to these 5 people sitting in front of you, we were all needed because we rarely agreed. And then they told me to shut up.
No, that's not true. Yeah, I think we did learn about our own civil discourse.
Yeah.
Alan and I have been dear, dear friends for upwards of 20 years, and we'd go at it. You and I would go at it. And it became very dysfunctional to people that were around us. And we didn't realize it. We had a gentleman join our board and quit after 1 board meeting.
Oh, shit.
Did we really?
Oh, absolutely. He was very
take
upset. And I felt terrible because he was right. And I said, Alan, shut up. And I should never have said that. But unfortunately, we have that level of relationship that it was okay. But it wasn't okay because we needed to have our own civil discourse. I think we've learned over time.
Passion needs to exist. When it becomes dispassionate,
That's an
why do it?
understatement.
Yeah, just why do it? If there's not a
But,
passion.
yeah, don't give up the
involved.
passion. Yeah.
Howard, what were you going to say?
You may already be doing this, but it's a best practice for nonprofits. Every time you have a board meeting, pull out the mission statement and read it out loud. When things start going long and weary and you wonder if it's worth it, You need to have people on your board who have a passion for that mission, and they need to be reminded of that. It's a very simple thing to do, and it's one of the most neglected things in nonprofits, in my experience. I would commend that to you.
Steen, true to your mission.
I greatly appreciate the fact that you all care enough about legacy and history to include us even on your inaugural podcast. I think that's fantastic. And I appreciate your executive director, Nathaniel, and I meet, and he wants to do on some things, and I think that's great. And if that continued, that would be awesome. But my counsel would be, make it your own if you're doing a podcast. And if you all need to charge to events so that people do your own thing, and make it your own and put it, I'm sure.
So currently still funded by board members.
It's a cool model if it works.
You hear that question, though?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
How many people start nonprofit
There's an executive
organizations?
director.
Yeah. How many people
And it's
start
funded by.
start
That's amazing.
nonprofit organizations because it's something they're passionate about and they can never give up? We all moved on. Every single one of us, one at a time. We
For different reasons at different times.
and I would say we are perfectly okay with that. I mean, it was not about us. Founding our nonprofit, upwards of 15 years ago, or however exactly how long it's been, but they have it evolved to have it be not about the people that are the founders, but lay that foundation, but allow the new leadership. If Tim asking a question, we don't need to know because we entrusted that into the leadership that you guys are today, and what the leaders will be tomorrow. So thank you. Thank you for continuing the legacy.
Appreciate it. I will share as we wrap up some of the things on the horizon. So at our board meeting last November, there was serious discussion of, do we continue this? Very serious discussion.
Well, we should beat those people up.
It was
Alan, let's go.
Yeah.
Well, in the conversation evolved to, you've all heard the starfish story, where you find a grandfather and grandson are walking down the beach, they find a starfish, and grandfather would throw it back in the water. And they would find more and more and more, and the grandfather would keep throwing it back, and the grandson said, why do you keep doing that? You're not making an impact. There's so many starfish here. And the grandfather replied with, it mattered to that one. And that was my conversation to the board of, how do we know we're making impact? If we impact one person in our community, it's worth doing, because you have no idea who that one person will be to continue to make a ripple in the pond, to mix metaphors. So that is something that came up. Some of the other things on the horizon, we've developed the civil discourse course so that businesses can invite us in and be able to have that kind of experience and training
was
inside
Ben's
their organization.
Baby, right?
It
Yes.
still is Ben's baby.
Still Ben's baby. He's coming in right after you all to talk about
The
it.
second podcast on civil discourse.
And that is now
Good luck.
transforming into Mayor's Youth Advisory Council and into the schools. And it's
There's
trickling
impact, yeah.
downstream
That's fantastic.
to start creating
One starfish
the
at a
future.
time.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, when you talk about what you might do differently, getting this in the schools.
Well, and my personal hope is that we're able to start bringing some of those people in to be board members at a very young age, where maybe they get sponsored or a scholarship or something like that to be part of the board, and they're able to make contributions at that age, where they're able to start forming what the future looks like for their own generation, right? So you are each having major ripple effects in the community just by starting it when you did. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you all very much. This has been incredibly fascinating to talk to all of you. And I greatly appreciate in your busy schedules to come this morning and spend it with us.
That was a feat. I think did all five of us in one
Yes.
spot.
And I'll
God.
tell you,
Yeah.
I was doing some fist pumps when that happened.
Well,
So,
there's at least 2 or 3 of us don't have driver's licenses anymore. So
yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Gilbert Talks, so should you.
I like it. There it is, right there.
You've been working on that all day. Alan Fitzgerald, Gilbert Talks.
I'm Howard Morrison. This has been Gilbert Talks.
Tad Pein, Gilbert Talks.
I'm Jim Hayden, and this is Gilbert Talks.
I'm Tim Bricker, Gilbert Talks.